All right, welcome back. We are in chapter 10. And chapter 10 is a very small chapter again. There's Revelation, I'm glad, is broken up in small chapters for the most part. But this chapter, back when I used to be very much pre-tribulational rapture, dispensational view, I would look at chapter 10 and just think of it as filler. Wasn't sure what to do with it. And I kind of see kind of a general kind of glossing over by a lot of the commentators who are more dispensational. But I think this is actually a very pivotal, very important part of Revelation that reveals a lot. And it's not just filler, an angel coming and doing something crazy looking and keep going. No, this is pretty important. So let's start with verse 1. I saw another mighty angel come down from heaven, wrapped in a cloud, with a rainbow over his head and a face like the sun and his legs like pillars of fire. Just upon the first reading of that, I automatically start to think that looks like Jesus. Maybe John in his ecstatic state and seeing all these things can't differentiate a mighty angel from Jesus in his resurrected body. Immediately can't tell the difference between who's who because they're all glorious, and he hasn't seen something like this before. It could be Jesus, but the only reason I'm saying maybe it's not is because it says that that he raises his right hand and he swears by him who created the heavens and all that's in it, the earth, it's all that's in it, the sea and all that's in it. And so he's swearing by something greater than himself. But then again, when God swears, he swears on himself because there is nothing greater than himself. So it could be Jesus here. So I'll kind of leave that one open. But either way, the angel that he sees, whether it's Christ or whether it's another mighty angel that just looks very similar to Jesus. Let's see here. Don't have my stand with me today. What does he do here? He has a little scroll in his hand. And this should start, if you are familiar with your Old Testament, this should start ringing bells from Ezekiel chapter 1. And the scroll that Ezekiel gets, a little scroll. And then it gets very familiar to Ezekiel 1. A scroll was open, and then it says that he set his right foot on the sea and his left foot on the land, and called out with a loud voice like a lion roaring. All right, so let's see, what does this mean? I don't want to speculate. I do want to go with something that the Bible reveals as sea and land. And so in Daniel, the beautiful land is referring to Israel or Jerusalem. And then later on in when Mystery Babylon is destroyed in the book of Revelation, chapter, I think, 17, it shows the sea being the multitudes of Gentiles and peoples. So this could be that he's now stepping on both the land and the sea, both on Israel and all the nations. And he has a message for both, or he has something that's going to be revealed that has to do with Israel and the nations. And that motif of Israel and the nations goes all the way back to the beginning. So that's not too far off, I don't think. And then he calls out with a loud voice like a lion roaring. And Jesus is also referred to as the Lion of Judah. So this could, again, be Jesus. And he's like a great lion roaring. Now, the devil's also called a roaring lion. Well, that's not him here. And then it says that and when he called out, 7 thunders sounded. 7 thunders sounded. And when the seven thunders had sounded, I was about to write, but I heard a voice from heaven saying, seal up what the seven thunders have said and do not write it down. Now the sealing something up and don't write this down, do not reveal what this is, should also take us back to Daniel chapter 12, which I'm going to go there right now because there's a lot in Daniel that we need to make a correlation here. So just that part right there, a couple of things we see here. The angel who swears by him who created everything is also seen in Daniel chapter 12, verse 7. And I heard the man clothed in linen who was above the waters of the stream. He raised his right hand and his left hand towards heaven and swore by him who lives forever that it would be for a time, times, and half a time, and that when the shattering of the power of the holy people comes to an end, all these things should be finished. So what we're seeing in Revelation of this angel swearing by God is also what Daniel saw. And when Daniel saw it, he swore that this would, he's telling us where we're at in the timeline. That this time that is going to happen now is for a time, times, and half a time. And again, the 3.5 years, the half of the sevens, a year, 2 years for times, and a half a time, half a year. So 1, 2, 3, 3.5 years is where we're at. So we're at the midpoint of the 7 year, the tribulation time here. And he says, all these things are going to be finished. And then he asks, oh Lord, what are the outcome of these things? And he says, go your way, Daniel, for the words are shut up and sealed until the time of the end. Same wording here that he tells John, do not write this down. This is sealed up. And many shall purify themselves and make themselves white and be refined, but the wicked shall act wickedly, and none of the wicked shall understand, but those who are wise shall understand. All right? So if you're in your Bible right now and you are coming to understand what God's plan is for the end, and you are purifying yourself and trying to get yourself ready for the coming of the Lord, then you're one of the wise. But the wicked, they'll just keep going wickedly and they won't even think about it. And then if you have any doubt that this is the middle of the tribulation, it says that at the time of the regular burnt offerings that are taken away and the abomination that makes desolate, there shall be 1,290 days. So there's, again, that's almost half of the 7 years. 1,260 days is what we see for or we're going to see in the next chapter for the two witnesses who are allowed to preach for 1,260 days. Well, this is 1,290 days, so there's a 30-day discrepancy here, or not discrepancy, but a extra 30 days. And the way I'm thinking this might be is that the abomination of desolation will be set up and will be desecrated and everything about 30 days prior to the end of the tribulation. Or not the end, I'm sorry, the middle point. 30 days prior to the first 1,260. And so in that 30-day period, there may be, it's hard to say what's going to happen, but that would leave a lot of time for the Antichrist to overcome the two witnesses and to kill them, for persecution, for 666 to get rolled out, and the Antichrist to go on a hunt for the people who won't take it. And so there's like this 30 days in there. And that could be just that time of waiting and trial, where God's people are told to endure unto the end. Now, I'm not really sure, but that there's no accidents when there's numbers in the Bible. And then it says in Blessed is he who arrives at the 1335 days. And I always, what in the world is that? Why does he keep confusing us? So between the 1290 days and 1335 days, there's another 45-day period after the tribulation. And so what's going to happen there? I'm not really sure. But blessed are those who get to that time. So, as these things unfold right before our eyes, we'll be able to probably plug in these dates and be able to see what's coming. So that's for the time of the end. So it's sealed up. It's not going to be 100% understood until the time of the end. And I think as we're getting closer to the time of the end, some of these things are becoming more clear, such as, I think here, Revelation chapter 10, becoming more clear. And let's see what else it says. So he says, don't write this down. And that's intentional because I think God is concealing something here that he doesn't want fully known until the time of the end. Until we get closer to the end, then these things will become more understood. Okay, the wise will understand, but the wicked will go on. Okay, like he said in Daniel. And so then what does he swear? He swears by the one who created everything. And this is where it gets really good. He says he swears that there will be no more delay, but that in the days of the trumpet call to be sounded by the seventh angel. Okay, so there's something interesting here about this seventh trumpet, the last trumpet. But when this happens, the last trumpet, the mystery of God would be fulfilled, just as he announced to his servants, the prophets. Well, what is the mystery of God that's going to be fulfilled? And as I read, like dispensationalists, they're just talking about, well, it's just a general word for the mystery of just Christ coming, and it's his plan for the whole world is about to come to full fruition. And it's just very general because it's much easier to just talk in generalities than to point at something specific and say, that is this. Because once you do that, it gets there's some accountability there. And be a little more general, it leaves room for mistakes and errors. Well, I think the Bible's clear enough to tell us what this mystery is. And I think it's found in Ephesians chapter 3, because Paul tells us he writes to the Ephesians, and by the way, all of the, John, when he writes this, I think he gives this book to the Ephesians first. In fact, he was, historically, John was living in Ephesus, and he had Mary, the mother of Jesus, living with him until her death in Ephesus. So I think Ephesus is a good place to look for understanding what this means about the mystery. And it tells us here in Ephesians 3, verse 1, Paul, the prisoner of Christ, on behalf of the Gentiles, says, God's grace has been given to me for you, how the mystery was made known to me by revelation. And I have written briefly. When you read this, you can perceive my insight into the mystery of Christ. Okay, well, here's the mystery of Christ right here. What is it? Which was made known to the sons of men which was not made known to the sons of men in other generations, as it is now being revealed to his holy apostles and prophets by the Spirit. Well, there's the same language there, as it was revealed to his holy prophets, and Paul's one of them. And through the Spirit, this mystery is, here it is, that the Gentiles are fellow heirs, members of the same body, and partakers of the promise of Jesus Christ through the gospel. And of this gospel I was made a minister according to the grace, the gift of God's grace. And then he goes on to say, this grace is to preach to the Gentiles the unsearchable riches of Christ, and to bring to light for everyone that is the plan of the mystery hidden for ages in God who created all things, so that through the church, the manifold wisdom of God might be now made known to the rulers and authorities in heavenly places. This is incredible. The mystery is the Gentiles are included in all of the the covenants and everything that were given to Israel, so that they are included, and this is now the church. And so this was a mystery hidden and is now being revealed, and it was revealed to his prophets and apostles. And it says it is being revealed as though it's in the process. And that process, I believe, ends right here in Revelation chapter 10, because he says there will be now no more delay. The mystery of God would be fulfilled. And it's going to be fulfilled at the seventh trumpet. And I mean, there's so much more I can say here. What happens at the seventh trumpet? Well, it's at the midpoint of this the 7 years, the 3.5 years. It's somewhere in the middle here, as we see from Daniel, with the same language of the angel swearing and sealing up a vision. All of these things are tied together. And what do we see at the center point? Well, Daniel 12 tells us what we see. There is the abomination of desolation. But what is this mystery of God that's being fulfilled at the center of the 7 years? It is that these Gentiles who make up the church are now fulfilled. This is it. This is the end of the church. This is this is what Romans is talking about, I think, also, of the times of the Gentiles are completing. They're coming to an end. There's not going to be any more delay now. This is it. The times of the Gentiles are almost over, and the church, the mystery of God, is now fulfilled. Now, if you're a pre-trib rapturist, then that was done 3.5 years ago from this point. But that's not what the Bible is teaching here. The mystery of God is about to be fulfilled, and that mystery of God is the church. So let's go to 1 Corinthians 15, 51. Behold, I tell you a mystery. There's that word again. Another mystery. And that mystery seems to be connected with the mystery of the gospel, the mystery of the Gentiles, the church. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we shall all be changed. And so we have a resurrection, and we have those who don't die and don't sleep will be changed, will be caught up. This happens at the last trumpet. Now, I don't think Paul knew what trumpet he was even talking about at that point, because that hadn't been revealed until the 7 trumpets are revealed to John in Revelation. And some say that this has something to do with the Feast of Trumpets, which has 100 trumpet blows. And so the rapture's on the day of the Feast of Trumpets, which is also a 2-day feast, and you don't know what day or hour because you have to wait for the showing of the moon. That's very possible. I think that's a day to looking up on that day for sure. But there's nothing in the Bible about the 100 trumpet blasts. That's Jewish stuff. So I'm going to go with the 7 trumpets that are here in Revelation as the 7th one being the last one, and that being pointed out by this angel to be special, that the mystery will be fulfilled. Mystery right here, the mystery in Ephesians, the church catching up. But not only that, back in Daniel 12, again, in Daniel chapter 12, verse 2, for many of those who sleep in the dust of the earth shall awake, some to everlasting life, some to shame and everlasting contempt. And those who are wise shall shine like the brightness of the sky above, and those who turn many to righteousness like the stars forever and ever. But you, Daniel, shut up these words and seal the book until the time of the end. Many shall run to and fro, and knowledge will increase. And this happens right at this point here, this middle point. It's the angel who announces this seventh trumpet. It's the same angel who swears by God, just like this angel in chapter 12 of Daniel swears by God. He tells us that it's at the middle point. It tells us that there's a resurrection and that the righteous will shine like stars, okay? Stars above. That's where we're going. When we go with Christ, we're going above. So what I think the mystery is here that's being sealed until the end, that this angel is announcing, that he tells John not to write down, is the fact that the church is going to be caught up with Christ at around this point, or it's coming soon. It's about to happen. There's not any more delay. This is about to happen. And that the end of the church age is here. The end of the fulfilling of the Gentiles, the filling up of the Gentiles is about to happen. And the resurrection is about to happen, and it's going to happen at the midpoint. This is not going to happen at the very end. It's not going to happen at the very beginning of the 7 years. It's going to happen in the middle. And that's why there's so much emphasis on the time, times, and half a time. 1,260 days, 1,290 days. This midpoint is the pinnacle of the judgment. It's just so, it's such a pivotal part. And all the action happens right around here. And I think for the next couple of chapters, we're going to get a lot of detail about this midpoint. And that's where most of the emphasis is going to be until the end. And so that's where we're at. Chapter 10 is an announcement of the last trumpet, the end of the church age, and the catching away of his people, and the resurrection. And I think Ephesians and Daniel, and 1 Corinthians 15, even Romans 16, the times of the Gentiles, all of that ties it together. And I think this gives us more clarity about understanding the whole understanding of the rapture. In fact, in one of my other videos, I laid out how everywhere you see a rapture or the resurrection, there's the rapture. It's at the same time. All right, so let's finish this chapter. Verse 8, then the voice that I heard from heaven spoke to me again, saying, take the scroll that is open in the hand of the angel who is standing on the sea and on the land. So I went to the angel and told him to give me the little scroll. And he said to me, take it and eat it. It will make your stomach bitter, but in your mouth it will be sweet as honey. Again, this takes us back to Ezekiel chapter 3. The exact same thing happens to Ezekiel when he's about to speak in judgment to the people of Israel. And that's what the scroll is. It's a judgment scroll. And so he eats it. It was sweet, and then it was bitter. And so the same thing here. It's sweet because God is going to save his people, but it's bitter because it's going to judge the nations and bring a lot of trouble. And I took the scroll from his hand and I ate it. It was sweet in my mouth, but it made my stomach bitter. And then he says, now you must go again and prophesy against many peoples and nations and languages and kings. And this is what the rest of the next several chapters are going to involve. Many kings, many nations. This is where the beasts of the earth are going to rise out of the earth with many heads and horns and crowns. And so all these players that are going to be clarified for us somewhat in the book of Daniel that tell us, some of these same beasts were seen by Daniel that are nations and languages and kings. These people, these kingdoms are going to rise up now, and we're going to get more of a focus on the geopolitical landscape of the last days. and we're gonna go back into Daniel a lot and look at those visions and try to make some connections here to figure out what he's seeing. And so that's what's coming next. Now, a little more of what's going to happen is going to be revealed.